Hello and welcome to yet another edition of your favorite Sages show. And today we are going to speak to someone who cut across several sectors, someone who is a scientist but doesn't just end as being a scientist, has transcended into writing and creative writing. And so today our guest is Professor Nwagwu. He's a Nigerian poet, a columnist and professor of cell molecular biology at the University of Ibadan, Nigeria. Professor Nwagwu was born in Obaititi Nguru Abo Mbaize in Imo State of Nigeria. He attended Christ the King School, Aba, between 1942 and 1949 before proceeding to the St. Patrick's College, Calabar, to study between 1950 and 1956. Now, Professor received his BSc and MSc degrees in zoology in 1961 and 1965, respectively. That was quite quick, and he did it from the University of London. Thereafter, he obtained a Doctor of Philosophy, a PhD degree in zoology from the Stockholm University in 1965. Professor Nwagwu then went on to the University of Connecticut in 1966, where he completed spectacular research on myosin messenger RNA and muscle protein synthesis on his postdoctoral fellowship. Now, 3 years later, in 1969, he was appointed assistant professor at Brock University, Canada, where he later rose to the rank of associate professor in 1973. Then, as an African, someone who's patriotic to his motherland, he decided to then return to Nigeria, where he worked as a senior lecturer at the University of Ibadan until his retirement in 2002. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the man we're going to speak to today, Professor Nwagwu. Prof, great to have you here today.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Great. I find do I call it a hat or a cap? It's quite fascinating. What's the story behind it?
No, I'm an Igbo man. You got it right. I was born in Obetitimburu in Imo State. But I've spent a good chunk of my life in Ibadan. And this is the traditional headway, the filler of the Oyo people, where I live. It stands, and then you have these the ears up there, and you can do all your poems on it. So that's it's a traditional Yoruba filler, traditional Yoruba attire, which I love so much, and I wear it from time to time. Thank you.
Has that the meaning of it found a way into any of your poetries?
No. You see, my poetry is not something I can easily recall. This is in it or not in it.
Okay.
Because a lot of it covers life and nature. The last one, for example, was on trees and ebony and figures. But I don't now readily recall that any of my poems would have as content this closeness or appreciation to the Yoruba traditional attire.
All right. It looks like you love Obaititi Nguru very much. So let's go there. What memories from Obaititi Nguru shaped your earliest sense of wonder, scientific or politics? Tell us about that and growing up in Nigeria of those times.
Well, these are recalled in my memoirs, dreams, that I was born in Obaititi in 1937, yes, but my father took me to Aba, I think about 1938 or 39 or so. So my earliest memories of Aba would come from, say, 1939. I was just about 2 years old at the time, before I started school. I schooled in Aba and lived in Aba during my primary school days from 42 actually, from 42 to 49. So my memories are from Aba in terms of my childhood. And then we went to Obetiti, returned to Obetiti sometimes on holiday. And finally, my father returned to Obetiti in 1954. By the time I had already left, I was at St. Patrick's College, Calabar. So that memory, I don't know how much time we have, is a very detailed one.
Okay.
Because it recalls my life with my father and my mother. And as I said, I've written on this in my book, in my memoirs, Dreams Dance. The formation of a child is not a little thing. And someone like myself who is a rascal and troublesome and doesn't listen and often disobedient, that is to say, I'm asked to do A and I go and do B, and instead of doing A, I'll be running away doing something else, etc. I think I gave my parents quite a hard time. And fortunately, I came out of it quite well. That is to say, I grew out of my rascality in time. By 1940, I would say 1948, precisely 1948. The change came around 46, 47, but by 48, when I was in primary 5, ready to for primary 6 to leave the first primary school. Yes, I was a better boy. I was attending classes. I was in school. I was patient. I was obedient. But my earlier years were, as I said in my book, I would go and buy suya. The suya is a bit barbecued beef, put in my pocket and be eating during class. That's the kind of rascal I was.
but I mean, you say along the line you changed. What caused that particular change in you?
You know, I went to a Catholic school. It's a Catholic school. Christ the King School, Abba. My parents are Catholics, my father and my mother. They gave me good whipping, especially my father. They gave me good whipping and instructions. And in time, slowly, with religious classes, with my rosary helping, my religion helping, I could come out of what I would describe as the physical and physical rascality. That is, being away from class, going to buy suya, finding money to buy the barbecued beef, eating it during class. That kind of life was away by 1946-7. And by the time I reached, as I said, primary 5, I was far more responsible. I can't put a finger on it directly, but my father is a wonderful, wonderful person who would not let his son be a fool. I dare not. I can't. He will kill me.
That was a traditional father, yeah?
Well, you know, the traditions. Yeah, like my grandson. I don't know how old you are, but you look from what I'm seeing. You're no younger than any of. You're no older than any of my children, and perhaps just a little older than my grandson. My grandson is 30. Was born 62. He's 33 now.
I could be your grandson anyway.
So I come from a real African disciplinary tradition where a child is not spared the rod, not spared. If you misbehave, you get it. If you did wrong, you get it. There's no question about trying to be understanding. You have to understand one thing, right and wrong. If it's wrong, you get a good whipping. And after some time, the whipping got to me, and I said, I think that's enough.
So with that experience, when you look at the contemporary parent,
you lost me.
No, we are with you. So with that experience, if you look at the contemporary parenting and what you had that time, do you see a change, and is it positive or negative?
You know, each time in life, I tell everybody, I don't compare A and B when it comes to life and patterns of living, etc.
Okay.
Because each time confronts its own problems and deals with them the best way possible. My parents, your grandparents, or any of the African parents were disciplinarians. They didn't spare they made sure the child grew up being obedient, serving. I swept the floor, I washed plates, we went through all the rigors of life that was before us. My children didn't go through that. My children, we lived in Stockholm, then we lived in, beginning in Stockholm, then in the US, and then finally in Canada before we came back to Nigeria. The last child was born in Nigeria, yes, that was 1974. So their own experience is entirely different. And not just because of me being in the university, but the changes had come. There was light, there was water, schools were closer. So you didn't have to walk 2-3 miles to go to school and walk back home again. And at the same time, the kinds of problems I had in school, not knowing B, I think that changed with the educational system in the 60s, 50s, 60s. I left secondary school. My secondary school experience is another. Discipline, attention, time. You have to be on time. You wake up at 5, everything was timed. You wake up at 5 o'clock, you go to Mass. We went to Mass every day. I'm a Catholic, I go to Mass every day. And as I said to Ken, when I leave you now, I'm going to the Blessed Sacrament to meet our Lord. That's the training that you receive in time. Nothing really changes. The only thing is adaptations and new ways of confronting the problems that you meet. Yes, my parents flogged me for being a bad boy. My children, I don't know how good or bad they were, but they didn't get any flogging from me. We could talk. It didn't happen. It won't happen in Stockholm or in the US, not easily. Well, it could happen in the sense of they spend more time on TV or want to do this or what. But generally, children are taught to be obedient. Please don't do this, please don't do that. And the environment, in many cases, helps us to comply.
So I mean, the current system where people say young children of today are not disciplined, you don't think it's because parents have been too lenient from your time?
I would not say the children are not disciplined. You see, I wouldn't. Somebody said something about discipline the last day, and I was not happy with it at all. The times are different.
Okay.
Many parents now that I know don't have jobs. And even those who have jobs, I mean, take someone living in Lagos, having to get up at 4, 5 o'clock to be able to be at work before 8 o'clock. And then coming back late at night, around maybe 9 p.m. or so. That person, and that's the man. What about the wife? The wife may be going through the same sort of difficulties. So you find the times are different.
Okay.
For many families. So when we talk of discipline, obedience, etc., what the child is in the care of, often, if they are lucky, in the care of caregivers or help in the home. The mother is not there, the father is not there, but they are at work. The children come back from school and they receive the help from caregivers. So I would say always, as I say, you deal with the conditions that confront you using the tools at your disposal the best way you can. I can't compare. I mean, my children grew up, when we came back here, we were in the University of Ibadan. The schools are close by, everything is close by. And I drove them to school. So I can't be comparing the University of Ibadan environment with someone who lives in town and have to take the child from, say, Okado to somewhere else, etc. The thing is, for each family to try and deal with its own problems as best it can.
Okay.
That's the way I say it.
I read somewhere that you sort of preferred football to doing your homework. What changed it for you?
Oh no, this is a long way now. This is in Aba. In my primary school days, I played a lot. I've said so. From 1940, I started school 42. By 1944, from 44 to about 47, I was a rascal, playing around and not doing much, but was able to pass my exams. I don't even know how I passed those exams, but by 1948, yes. So it's not that something changes you. You find that situations are now different. I find, for example, that I have to do more work in class. I have to pass I cannot come home and tell my father I failed my exams. So I must study, or he'll kill me, as I said. And by then I was now about 8, 9, was I? I was 7 in 1944, 8, 9 or so. I had received Holy Communion in 1946. I was taught that now I became, as we were taught, a child of God. I could easily run to God and go to confession. If I say or did something wrong, I could go to confession. That immediately controls how bad I can be. I can't go to confession every day, confessing to God that the same sin every day. I have to change a little now.
I love the now there. I mean, it brings the Nigerian in you. But was there a moment when you realized that science and poetry weren't opposite, but rather companions?
No, you see, we went to school, we were taught everything. So let me take St. Patrick's College, Calabar, for example. We did everything: English, literature, geography, history, religious studies, physics, chemistry, biology, health sciences. And I expected to pass all of them. Some students had alpha, the A grade in all the subjects. I had credit in all the subjects, and I was able to graduate with a grade 1. At that time, there was pride. You're proud to be a good student. You're proud to make a grade 1. You're proud to do well in all the subjects. So in the case of just being a scientist or being good in English, you have to pass all of them. So by the time I left St. Patrick's Calabar, I was already interested in literature.
Okay.
We read Wordsworth. We read John Keats. We read John Bunyan. We read Shakespeare. I did Macbeth in school for my school salad. So we were exposed to literature. We were exposed to language. We were exposed to Charles Dickens, and particularly Charles Dickens. Not A Tale of Two Cities. The one I'm so fond of, it's not A Christmas Carol. That one was gone. The one where you have the hero. Anyway, so we had this literature. And I continued reading novels when I left school. But even in school, we had a good library. Now, in fact, I remember it now, reading the novels of Wilkie Collins. And liking Ivanhoe, liking heroism, liking bravery. As in Ivanhoe, and as in Red Gauntlet, and also then I also like Percival in The Woman in White. So we were exposed to literature, we were exposed to the humanities, as much as we were doing physics, chemistry, and biology. So there was no difficulty going from one to the other, and in fact, there was pleasure that you could do all these things at the same time and at a high level. Yes, that's how we were brought up.
Okay. So, I mean, at what point in time did you decide to go into poetry? Was it after you had completed getting those molecular biology, zoology degrees before you decided?
What you see, it's again, this is in my book, Dreams Dance. The first inclination was to prose, to write prose. My granddaughter, Kunne, and when we visited her in 2003 in New Jersey, or at least a city in New Jersey, she read a book a day. I saw her when we went to school to get her or wait for her brother. I saw her. She was always with a book reading. I asked her. She said, "Grandpa, I read a book every day. I read one every 2 days." After watching her for some time, I said, "I'm going to write you a book." That is how it happened. Watching my granddaughter read, I said I would write you a book, and that's how my first book came out.
Okay.
Forever Chimes. I came out in 2000. I was 70 at the time, 2007, and it was for my 70th birthday. I dedicated to my granddaughter and other granddaughters who had come up at the time. So that was how I got into writing.
Wow.
On the whole.
And you said this is 2007?
Yes, I was 70 at the time, yes.
Okay.
I had retired. I retired in 2002. And what did I do between? What did I do there? Okay, I was still at Ibadan. My wife retired in 2008. And then we went back home to Obetiji in 2009, I think, or so. So between 2002 and 2008, I had an NGO, Youth and Enterprise Initiative. trying to get students to be very involved in their life, to take charge of their own life and not waiting for someone to tell you there's a job for you, etc. Be such that you can control your life and work for it and try something to do and be good at it. So between 2002 and 2008, yes, that took my time and some resources, both mine and those and gifts from friends and companies. After that, then by 2007, I was already writing. By 2004, I was already writing the novel anyway. But this was we were in the city in New Jersey, 2003. When I came back, I started writing. The book was published 2007.
Okay, that's interesting to know where it started when you saw your granddaughter read so much. But so now we get to see the inspiration of your works in poetry. What drew you then to molecular biology? You know, we know what drew you to poetry. What drew you to molecular biology?
No, this is not poetry. This is prose.
Okay.
Oh, my poetry is all my wife. Oh, that's a different life altogether.
Okay.
If you want to go back to molecular biology, you have to go back to 1960 when I went to Stockholm in 62. My first poetry is 2009. So which one do you want to do? Molecular biology or poetry?
Okay. So once you say the one you spoke about was prose, let's do the poetry then. Then we come to molecular biology because we want to know what the inspiration was.
Okay. You see, because obviously you can see I'm very. I can talk about my poetry till I die, which I pray is another 100 years. Anyway, my wife is, I'm very fond of my wife. I'm very, very fond of my wife. So sometime in 2007 or 8 or so, I saw her with a bag of, a brown paper bag with scraps inside. I said, what is this? She didn't want me to say it. I said, come on, people, show me, what is this one? She threw it at me. Inside were slips and little scraps that I had been writing to her. Each time I'm with her, I will write something. Oh, look at the eyes. Oh, I'm lost in you. The sky is swing to you. That's all they coming out of me. I couldn't believe it. I said, Helen, I've been writing all this. She said, give it back to me, give it back to me. I said, I'm not giving it back to you. I won't give it back to you. So I read through this and I was enthralled. It was wonder. I could not believe my eyes. Okay, I'm going to write you. I'm going to now publish them and then I enlarge on them and write more poems. So I was able to write my first work of poetry, Helen Not of Troy, published 2009, my very first work of poetry, to my wife, dedicated. And that work is one of the best in Nigeria at the time. In fact, it would have won the prize, the Nigerian liquid natural gas prize at the time. But I won't get into that. There are those who know a lot more about it than I do. But I was asked that question. I tried to answer it in my memoir because I was asked, that book win the prize that year. The person who asked me that question was on the committee for that book. So why is he asking me? He wouldn't know. But he wanted to hear my own opinion. So that was my first work of poetry. So now I have my first work of prose and my first work of poetry.
Wow.
Yeah.
So now we
can go back. Anyway, go on.
Yeah. So now we have the inspiration for your prose, the inspiration for your poetry. What inspired you to, or what drew you to molecular biology? And also, once you answer that, take us to how your time in Stockholm and Connecticut really reshaped your whole thinking about your worldview.
Well, when you talk of Stockholm and Connecticut, you're talking about molecular biology. What happened was sometime, I think we were students here at the University College Ibadan. France exploded an atomic bomb in the Sahara. This must have been, I don't know, 58, 59, somewhere there. And there was the after effects of radiation, etc. And that is to say, people had diseases, people were ill, etc. I don't now remember whether anyone died. But I felt it. I say, here we are in Africa. What do we know about the effect of it? What do we know to start with about radiation? What do we know about the effects of radiation? What do we know about the effects of radiation on cells? So I had all these questions living in me. Okay, so when I went to Stockholm to study embryology, I did drug development, but with particular attention to the effect of a drug that affects protein synthesis. I said, we're getting close to it. I can now be looking at effects of whatever on protein synthesis or whatever on DNA or whatever on RNA, etc. Granted, by the time I went there in 62, the molecular biology had not yet really taken off. Granted, the double helix came out in 1957, but not much research was going on in the world until about 61, 62. So I couldn't get my feet into molecular biology. But I was able to gain the ingredients of molecular biology from reading up on protein synthesis and on my research itself. So when I came into Stockholm now, this was heaven. I had the chance, as I said in my book, to enter into molecular biology because my mentor, Herman, so much wanted me to get to the heart of molecular biology. He brought Haywood from MIT to come to his lab. Haywood was working on messenger RNA, on protein synthesis, and I said, this is my life. So when Haywood came to Connecticut, two of us together had two papers, Haywood and Nwagwu, on messenger RNA.
Okay.
We were the first group to isolate messenger RNA for a eukaryotic protein, one single protein, myosin. Before that, a group had messenger RNA for globin. The globin is a tetramer, A and B. Ours is a pure protein, myosin, a single protein. So I can now call myself a molecular biologist, a new RNA, a new messenger, a new ribosomes, a new transfer RNA, I knew all these things, and I could work on it. So that was exceedingly exciting, 66 to 69, before I went to Canada to continue that work.
You're taking me back to my own university days when I was pursuing agriculture, where we used to read about this molecular biology, RNA, rhizins, and what have you. I mean, it's just flashing back to me. But what gave you the thrill those days when you were able to sequence messenger RNA and all what have you? It looks like you were excited by it.
Oh no, you see, that is why it's sometimes very difficult to make comparisons or take a look at A and compare it with B. Yeah, we're looking at a time when nobody could make proteins in a test tube. So cell-free protein synthesis, to make a protein, was big deal. The very first one was a polypeptide, polyphenylalanin. I'll put in his name now, Lengian or Leda. Philip Leda, I think. Oh, no. He put a Nobel Prize out of it. Anyway, so this was all new. It was all new and exceedingly exciting, especially when you've gone. It's in my book, the day we isolated it. I mean, I came home that day and I drank and we shared the finest wines and everything. It was new. And now I could begin to understand the basis of life in terms of molecules, not just in terms of tissues and blood and nerve, etc., but to go down to the level of the messenger RNA. So when I take a protein, I mean, fortunately, a protein like myosin, the protein you find in muscle, is very well studied. The protein is known, all the protein, well, not all, at least in my time, at that time, most of the proteins, maybe they're all known by now. Myosin, actin, actomyosin, troponin, etc. So it was wonderful working on these proteins in muscle. And muscle is, you and I know very well, muscle contraction can be easily explained. And at the same time, the nerves, the way the muscle contracts, its interaction with the nerve, it behaves like a nerve, the muscle, because it reacts to the sodium potassium efflux. So all that is exceedingly exciting. I wish I could go back to molecular biology.
Now, was that the most eccentric or I mean, exciting academic, moment that you've been part of in your life, the way you describe it?
You see, would I say the most exciting? Because that is comparative now. It's not more so than Stockholm. See, because Stockholm, I had just left, I was just a fresh graduate. I knew nothing. And I was able to get my PhD on protein synthesis. Chloramphenicol is an antibiotic, and it has effects on protein synthesis, inhibiting some enzymes. I found that, and that was exciting. But you see, I was younger, and I just got married. I got married in 62, and I took my wife to Stockholm. So each period has its own charm. Each period has its own joy. And I don't know how to... I look at my wife, 1962, 65, and it's incomparable. It was just unbelievable. And while the child in Stockholm, with Zoma, now take us. So when I come to messenger RNA with Haywood, meeting a man like Herman, my mentor, and Haywood, with whom I isolated and described messenger RNA, that's another exciting period in life. But now, I left that and I went to Canada. I started my own lab, my own laboratory. You see, in my memoirs, I was a teacher. I was employed as a full-time lecturer, assistant professor, then being promoted to associate professor. So I had my teaching to do. And it was after class, after say 4 p.m. or 5 p.m., I would start my research. And I did not get home most nights, during the weekdays, most nights, before 10 p.m. I taught as if I had no research. I did research as if I had no teaching. My family, especially my poor wife, suffered my company at the time, but I made up for it. How you make up for it is so wonderful. I've missed her all day. I come home tired and not in a very pleasant, romantic mood. But I must lift myself when I look at her. So you see, these periods are, the periods of my life are, they all have their stories and they all have their wonders. I think that's the only way to put it. And I've enjoyed, as I'm still enjoying, well, even now, I don't know whether we'll even get to now, what is happening now. I'm a student.
Okay. So it means that when you went out and you came in, seeing your wife would bring out the new person in you. Bring it out for me, and then I'll move on to the next question I have for you.
You say new. You don't know what is new in you until you confront a situation.
Okay.
And that is why I tell everybody, I won't do this, I'm not this. I said, look, you don't know what will happen until you wear that shoe. Until the shoe, you are wearing that shoe, that's when you will know how it fits. I had never been without my wife. I mean, okay, in Stockholm, I did my research only, and I went home, I was with my wife. We shared the wines, we had so many wines. It's in my memoirs. But in Canada, this was the first time, I would say, an African, there were 2 of us blacks on the staff. I was the only African on the staff. And it was clear to me that I'm being watched, I'm being measured, I'm being this, I'm being that. It did not matter to me. All I wanted to do was to do this myself. That was entirely new.
Okay.
Entirely new, because this was my own lab, and I had to obtain grants, and I had some of the biggest grants in Canada at the time.
Oh, okay.
So when I got home, my wife is receiving a Nwagwu she's never seen before. She just asked, how was the day? Then we spend the time talking about the experiment, the experiment if you did this or that happened. And then I look at her and I say, oh, thank you. I thank my God I have you. Because it is now complete. I have love and I have work. And the two are interchangeable. You go from one to the other easily.
That's why your poetry, it comes across as dancing with memory and longing. Now, how did your love for your wife, shape your voice as a poet? Well, it looks as if she came across all of the things you wrote.
No. You know, as I said, I'm very fond of my wife. And it was just so wonderful. All my wife did in life was just to stand and I look at her, I shake my head and I smile and we go out and we do whatever we're going to do. I did all the things men are not supposed to do with their wife. The African man is not supposed to be out with his wife, holding her hands, being at the club drinking with her. You're supposed to be there with other friends. But I was with my wife in the staff club here at the University of Ibadan throughout. I was the president there in 1977. I had just come back from Canada at the time. I was with my wife all the time. I cannot be without her. So it was very easy to relate to her poetically. Oh, look at your eyes, oh, look at your ears, oh, look at your lips, oh, look at your feet, the sand you walk on, your body, my play. So it was very wonderful. So it came out of me so naturally. And I have 4 works of poetry for my wife. It's unheard of in contemporary literature. My friends here tell me, and they're some of the best in literature. The first one, Helen Not of Troy, second one, Kathmandu, third one, Helena Venus. And after she died, she passed on in 2018. Then I wrote Time Came Upon Me in 2019 for her. So being with Helen is not, the word, it's not something I speak in words. I just have to stand and look at her, and I shake my head. Oh, look at her. Oh, look at her. Oh, look at her. Yeah.
You counted yourself as lucky to have had her, right?
Lucky is not the word.
Okay.
See, it's not a matter of luck. There's no luck in life. There's no destiny in life. You make your life what you want it to be. What is this? I don't know. You see, you're dealing with details that the tiny bit of it will take me 1 hour just to relive it. But let me thank you most sincerely for giving me this chance to relive some of the great moments of my life. So, in fact, I would say every moment has been great, but some of them, of course, are written about and can be talked about. Helen came to me, she had just left school. She was only 1962. No, I saw her 61. She was 18 at the time, actually, not yet 19. She saw me and that was it. That was it. We got married the following year, 6 months after. So you can imagine what happened within those 6 months that would make this girl go marry this man, or this man go marry this girl. That itself is a whole book yet to be written. And life, what is life? Okay, take my last book, my last work of poetry, called Fortunes. I can write about Helen, oh yes, but I felt, let me see something else in this world with the same eyes with which I see Helen. I stumbled upon a book by which Chris Okeke had endorsed and supported, financially supported. I said, look at her, look at this figure. So that figure on the cover of the book, I've forgotten her name now, took me to writing my next work of poetry called Fortunes. And there, I fell in love with the paintings. I fell in love with the carving, particularly the ebony. The ebony buried in the wood was speaking to me, and I was speaking to the ebony also. In fact, in one of the poems titled, Will You Be My Valentine? I was talking to the ebony, I was talking to the carving in the tree. The last poem in the book, which is Would You Have Dinner With Me, something like that, again was with Nwagwu at the National Museum in Lagos. I found I loved nature. Okay, I'm sitting here in front of a chair. It has not occurred. What is this chair? It's only a chair. But you see, his shoulder, his shoulders, and I can begin to relate to the chair. I have a work of poetry that will be coming out next year. You will get a copy. You will see it. You read about it.
Okay.
But let me talking about this. Let me just say this now. Forgive me. At this last workshop, where the lady, I don't remember her name now, introduced me to you, etc., the meeting at Pan-Africanist University in August, at the very end of the conference, the organizer, Chikezie, said, Prof, please write me a poem. I said, I can write a poem. Why in a session? There is a seminar going on. How can I write? He said, please write me a poem. I said, okay, I will. And I sat down during the seminar, within a space of about 30, 40 minutes, and I wrote him a poem. And then I gave it to him, and I said, I'd like to read it before we leave. The conference ended. He said goodbye and thanked everyone. But then he said, please, if I don't let for someone to read this poem, none of you will get out of here alive. Because he will stop me and stop all of you from leaving this room. Say, please, Prof, read the poem. So I read a poem. And that poem is a recommendation in my thesis. I don't know why they asked for a recommendation, but that poem is a recommendation in my thesis. And it will stay, because it's my own recommendation. It's not a case of what is A, what is B, what, no. They asked for a recommendation, and it is a poem I wrote to Chikezie at the Pan-Atlantic University Conference.
What a wonderful journey this has been. But then when you were 87 years old, you took a decision to pursue a second PhD in anthropology. I mean, I ask, what are you hoping to discover? What were you hoping to discover? Or the
you're asking two questions at the same time. Number one, I am not taking a second PhD.
Oh, okay.
No, it's not a second.
Okay.
It's a first. Everything you do in life is a first. If the breakfast you had this morning is your first breakfast of the day, it may be the 100th and 1000th one you've had in your life, but it's the first one for today.
Okay.
And you won't look at it that way, of course not. You take breakfast all the time. Anyway, so it's not a second PhD. And I hadn't the mind whatsoever to go do a PhD. For what? However, just as I saw my daughter reading, and I said, I'll write you a book, that's exactly what happened here. I was with my sponsor. Someone is sponsoring my PhD. And we started talking about it. He started talking about, if you don't know where you come from, how do you know where you are going? He's very involved in tradition and culture. So he brought up the subject of CBD. Let me not go into what it is. I said, I said, okay, I write a book on it. Then I came, I said, no. To write a book would mean gathering what is there, writing up what is there already. I'll do research on it. And let's know exactly what it is, what we can do with it, and where we're coming from. And now, where will CBD take us? That's how it happened. On that day, with him, and he laughingly, or I don't know how to put it, said, Mark, it's April 25, and it's the feast of St. Mark. So on the feast of St. Mark, April 25, 20, I was 86, going to be 86 at the time. I had this idea to go and do a research on CBD. So I said, okay, I'll go to the University of Ibadan and I'll do some reading and I'll get a thesis, get a concept out. So I came here to the University of Ibadan and was able to get something on CBD. I Googled it, and there were many papers. That gave me ideas. I said, well, I was happy, so I could get ideas to work on. My good friend, a wonderful man, Professor Shola Odoronyomi, he wasn't a professor at the time. We were together outside the parking. I tapped him on the shoulder, and I said, you will be my supervisor. Just like that. So on my birthday, May 17, I was 86 at the time. May 17, 2020, 22 or 23? 23, 24. I think it was 23. I started in 23. I was 86, yeah. So on May 17, 2023, I was in the postgraduate school here at the University of Ibadan to report as a student It was a wonderful day. The provost came out to receive me, sang happy birthday for me, and all the deputy provost and the rest came singing, and we were all so happy to receive this old man as a student. So that is how it started. In 2023, I've done 2 years now complete, and I'm in my third. And I'm hoping I should be able to defend my thesis sometime next year. I hope so.
Now, you've described somewhere that the University of Ibadan is the most elegant piece of property in Nigeria. What makes a campus sacred for you and for you to describe it as such?
If you don't know the University of Ibadan, how do you know Nigeria? Okay. Tell me. Anybody. If you don't know how this country has shaped Nigeria, how do you know what kind of Nigeria are you looking for? That is the question. Because this is where young people, the best that this country has, were brought together to know and to grow together to develop this country. And we did, and we're doing. Okay. You can say, unfortunately, that's a word I try not to use, because at the time it happened, we didn't see it as unfortunate. It's only in time that it became unfortunate. That is the question of, you don't know where you are, how do you know where you're going? Now, you ask this, let me read this for you from Banjo. It is the University of Ibadan. The light has gone. Okay, let me leave it. It is not just property, land. No, some of the finest minds in Nigeria have gone through here, and some are still here. Many are still here. The Ibadan developed University of Lagos, gave it his vice chancellor, gave it a medical school, developed University of Calabar to a good extent, developed Ife to a good extent. The first vice chancellor came from here, second one also was from Ike. So Ibadan has been there in the foreground of developing Nigeria and making the black man proud, and making the world know that we can do it. Yes, Ibadan does it. We're still number one in Nigeria, but that's not good enough. In the world, we're in the 1,000 or something like that. That pains me. We shouldn't be, but that's another story. So let me leave that part out and simply concentrate on what makes Ibadan this fantastic piece of ecology. The minds here, the brains here, the children here, the students here, the work being done here. This is my country. And I speak for Nigeria out of the University of Ibadan.
Now, I mean, I'm taking a lot of inspiration from you. So I wish to know, are there any ritual that you have, scientific, poetry, or not, or what, that keeps you grounded every day?
Well, you know, I'm happy you asked this, because I write a lot every day. I write a poem to our Lord every day. And it started after my wife passed on in 2018. Sometime, I think 2019, 2020. I'm a Catholic. I am a faithful of Opus Dei with St. Jose Maria as our founder. And in one of his writings, he says, those in love do not know how to say goodbye. They're with each other all the time. That is, for me, a foundation of life. Those in love are with each other all the time.
Well, Prof, it's been quite an exciting time with you, but the whole of Africa is watching you. Young people are watching you. What will be your message to Africans before we let you go?
Oh, be proud. Be proud of who you are. And let the world know you. Let the world know us. Oh, let's love one another. Let's help one another. Carrying each other on our shoulders. And let's be as good as we can be. All of us loving each other. Being one and doing all the best we can produce out of ourselves. We are wonderful. Oh, we are wonderful. Let's be so. Let the world know just how wonderful we are when we all work together in love and service. Thank you.
Prof, I'm grateful as well. Thank you very much for joining. So that's Professor Mark Nwagwu there.